Jeffrey Dahmer was demon-possessed. Whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. And when you look long into an abyss, the abyss also looks into you. Bridget Geiger reported that Jeffrey Dahmer requested that she participate in summoning an evil spirit after she was invited to a party at his home. According to press reports published at the time of the grisly Dahmer revelations, Miss Geiger described herself as an unpopular high school sophomore, and Dahmer was equally unpopular as a senior. A mutual friend had arranged their date for the prom, during which Dahmer ignored her for hours, supposedly to go out and get hamburgers. He was obviously painfully shy around girls and could not even bring himself to pin the obligatory corsage to her prom dress, but had to enlist the aid of her mother. A month later, Jeffrey invited her to a party at his house. It was not much of a party, according to Geiger, but just a half-dozen people sitting around with no food, no music, not much of anything. At one point during the evening, Dahmer decided he wanted to have a seance to contact the spirit of someone who had died in the house. According to Dahmer, an evil spirit had contacted him and spoken to him, asking him to do things that scared him. The Book of Enoch explains that evil spirits are the disembodied bodies of the Nephilim, the offspring of fallen angels and human women. Enoch 15:8. And now the giants who are produced from the spirits and flesh will be called evil spirits on the earth. As the candles were lit and started to flare up and sputter, Bridget Geiger realized that Dahmer was not joking, and she fled the house, never to see or speak to Dahmer again. That same month, Dahmer claimed his first victim, the young hitchhiker Stephen Hicks. Dahmer disposed of Hicks's body, burying the pieces in the earth near his home, where they would be found 13 years later, and went about his life as if nothing had happened. Dahmer was asked if he was involved in the occult, and Dahmer stated that he started dabbling in the occult and reading occult material, and his favorite movie was Exorcist 3, because it helped fit into his fantasy. Dahmer stated that in the movie Exorcist 3, the guy could create illusions, and Dahmer felt that he himself could create illusions. Further evidence of this is given by Tracy Edwards, an intended victim who later escaped. Edwards had been invited back to Dahmer's Milwaukee apartment, and during a drinking session managed to have one hand handcuffed at knife point, but retained enough common sense or sobriety to refuse to have the other hand cuffed. Dahmer, however, although angry, was calm because he had previously drugged Edwards's drink. He believed Edwards would soon be unconscious, and a little while later dead. While waiting for the drug to take effect and with knife in hand, Dahmer demanded that Edwards watch a videotape with him. It was Exorcist 3. Dahmer watched the film intently, at times rocking back and forth, chanting in a humming sound and seeming to go into a trance. In the Book of Enoch, evil spirits are condemned to roam the earth and to cause trouble for mankind. Enoch 15:11, and the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause trouble. They take no food, but nevertheless hunger and thirst and cause offenses. A personality change would take place in Dahmer during the parts of the film that depicted possession sequences. At this time, Dahmer would become aggressive and demand that Edwards place the other handcuff on his wrist. Then, as the filmed possession sequence would change to something more mundane, Dahmer's mood also shifted and he began to complain about his life and his loneliness. Eventually, Edwards escaped through a combination of luck and intelligence. He played Dahmer's moods and, in a moment of inattention, managed to hit Dahmer with enough force that he fell to the side, allowing Edwards to escape out into the night, running as fast as he could. The cannibalism factor increased the fascination the public has had with Dahmer. The killer admitted that he ate various body parts of his victims so that he could feel them as part of him. According to the Book of Enoch, the fallen angels had sexual relations with human women who then bore giant children. These giants, Nephilim, later turned to cannibalism to feed their insatiable hunger and thirst for blood. Enoch 7:2-4, and they became pregnant, and they bore great giants who consumed all the acquisitions of men. And when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. Cannibalism gave Dahmer a sexual thrill, but was obviously satisfying on some deeper level as well. Like the fictional Hannibal Lecter, Dahmer would fry pieces of his victims on a skillet over a stove. He would work during the week and then go crazy on the weekends, drinking and hanging out in gay strip clubs, gay discos, adult movie theaters, and bookstores. And when he was finally apprehended, the body count of known victims came to 17. Their bodies had been dismembered, dissolved in vats of acid in his apartment, stored in a large freezer. Their skulls had been retained, cleaned and defleshed, and in some cases painted, and were adorning his altar, his power altar. The number of skulls on the altar has been given variously as 6 or 10 according to different sources, along with a planned hanging skeleton on either side of the altar, a central hanging lamp, and 2 griffins. The altar was not complete at the time of his arrest, but some of the skulls and the 2 griffins were in place, as well as candles, incense, and other vaguely occult paraphernalia. The drawing Dahmer made of his proposed power altar included a black table with 10 painted skulls, a standing skeleton on either side of the altar, what appear to be incense burners on top and at either side of the altar, and an overhead hanging lamp with 4 blue globes. Evil spirits are called unclean in the Bible because those possessed are driven to commit morally unclean acts. Luke 11:24. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walks through dry places seeking rest, and finding none, he says, I will return unto my house whence I came out. Unclean, akathardos, impure, morally, lewd, or specifically, demonic, foul, unclean. What exactly was Jeffrey Dahmer worshiping in his macabre fantasy? The griffins on Dahmer's altar may give us a clue. According to Greek myth, griffins were chimera, a legendary creature with the body, tail, and back legs of a lion, and the head and wings of an eagle with its talons on the front legs. The griffin has been associated with the god Apollo in Greek mythography. The identifiable attested accounts presented in scholarship are largely not literary but artistic or numismatic. Apollo was associated with both disease and medicine, given the existence of the cults of Hyperborean Apollo with a cult center at the Greek colony of Olbia on the Black Sea. And even the main temple of Apollo at Delphi featured a statue of Apollo flanked by 2 griffins. Apollyon is a character in the book of Revelation. Revelation 9:11, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Apollyon, Apollyon, a destroyer, that is Satan, Apollyon. It appears that Jeffrey Dahmer was building an altar covered with human skulls to worship Satan. If you find my videos interesting, please like and subscribe. Have a great week. Thanks.